Welcome back to the Zors Gaming for a Dragalia Lost video. Void Battles were just released a couple days ago in Dragalia Lost, and we're actually going to be covering kind of not the strategies of the bosses, but how to get your team up and ready to fight them. So they are in a schedule. There are 4 different ones, but we'll just be looking at these 3 main ones here: the Wandering Shroom, the Steel Golem, and the Void Zephyr, which a lot of you may have experienced now. If you try to do the Void Zephyr run without the new weapons, then people will just start spamming Nope in there, so kind of go over how to get those weapons on here. Now the Wandering Shroom, you don't really need to worry about too much. You don't need any special weapons to take it out. It's just a light one, so if you have good shadow units, then that's pretty much all you need. But the Wandering Shroom is the one that gives a bunch of the items that you'll need for creating some of the nicer weapons. Now the next one is the Steel Golem, which is a flame for its element, and it's a Thaumian for its race. And this one also gives the dull debuff, and if you do that, it's like a 90% decrease in the amount of damage that you do. So you'll definitely need one of the new weapons for this one. And then the Void Zephyr is the other one, which it's wind, so you want to use fire against that one. And it's dragon, which there's not really anything special to use right now against that race, but there are things for its special abilities, which it has dull and it has dragon delay. And there are weapons that work for one of the 2 of those per weapon. So if you've looked at your weapons the last few days, you'll notice there are a few extra ones have been added, and these ones have abilities on them. And crafting materials are needed for these are based on different things, like that steel slab is from the golem. You have great feathers are from the Void Zephyr. So then you have ones like the fungus bow, which require solid fungus, which drops from the Wandering Shroom. And the last one, which is kind of on par with the Zephyr's materials, you have these fangs, which drops from the Manticore. So now some of the strategy behind what to do here is this fungus bow, which should be able to make pretty quickly here, has Thaumian's Bane on it. And when you upgrade that one, you can choose either the fire or the water version. Going with the water version, since it's Thaumian, which is the type the Steel Golem is, you actually get dull resistance on there in addition to that. So you'd have a water weapon to use on a water adventurer against Thaumian and dull resistance, so it's the perfect scenario you can have for going up against the Steel Golem. So to go from the tier 1 to the tier 2, it'll take 7 of those mushrooms. Then to go from the tier 2 to the tier 3, with taking 5 of those, that'd be 35 of those smaller ones, and you'd need 1 of these bigger ones. So this big one, you can either be lucky and get it as a drop, or it takes, I believe it's 40 of the smaller ones to trade up for this bigger one. Depending on who your main flame adventurer is, if it is an archer, then that actually works out well. All you need to worry about is farming Wandering Shroom, because looking back at the fungus bow, it just takes materials from that shroom. Now if you're more of a melee one, then you'll definitely want to farm the Steel Golem quite a bit, because these ones actually cost those materials from there. So looking at the materials for the tier 2 version, it is pretty similar to the bow, except it'll take 8 of the materials instead of 7, so be at a total of 40 of them to be able to get enough to make this one. But then this has the same type of thing where the Golem Core, you can trade in 40 of the smaller ones for this bigger one, or be lucky and get it dropped. And then what I mentioned earlier about this, where you have the different melee attack weapons have dull resistance on them, which is something definitely needed against Void Zephyr. The ranged ones have dragon delay resistance on them. hopefully you're not hit during battle, but still, dragon delay resistance will make it so you can have your dragon available during the fight. The dull resistance will make it so you do more damage during the fight, but you won't be able to have a dragon available. Then the final thing to show is what dull resistance actually does here. So I'll just use my basic fire team here. So at first in the battle it doesn't really matter, or if you're good at dodging then that won't really matter as much, but once you're hit, see, I was just barely hit by an attack and I'm doing double digits. Some of my crits I'm lucky to break 100 with them. So we'll show a comparison with this move here. So I do Ravenous Fire, that does 842 damage. So if we go back in against the Void Zephyr, but instead of the main weapon that I have, if I use the one that we crafted, Blazing Steel, where yeah, the might drops quite a bit, but you'll see what happens here. So in here you can see it already popped resist, resist. So anytime I get hit, I'm resisting that dull. Then here's the difference it makes with Ravenous Fire, where it does almost 8,000 damage, so it seems to be dull does knock out about 90% of the damage that you do. So even though you lose might for having one of these other weapons, since they're 3 and 4 stars, it definitely is worth it. Plus you get to not have to worry about having people just keep spamming nope whenever you join one of the groups for it. And you don't even need all that powerful of heroes for some of these, where I have Melsa from one of the events to take out the fungus. So one quick thing about Melsa on why I use her for the fungus guy is she came default with Physian's Bane plus 25%. So that, in addition to a weapon that does that, it's pretty nice increase of damage that she does to the little mushroom guy. And the main thing that matters with her is having dull resistance and that she's water. So against the Steel Golem, I used Nefaria. She's water, she has Thaumian's Bane of 15% and dull resistance from the weapon. And against Void Zephyr, I have Mikoto with that weapon with dull resistance on it. So if anyone has any helpful tips or any questions about anything, feel free to leave any messages in the comments for us. And hope you enjoyed this and it's helpful to you. Thank you for watching.